Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Umber Rays, and today I'm taking a look at two units that came in basically the Fan Festa unit package that is coming to global right now. And to be fair, something about global exclusives always gets me way more excited than a lot of stuff we get on JP, mainly because this is a Brave Exvius game. It is Final Fantasy, but really, it is kind of the main character. Like, this game is based around Brave Exvius characters. And that is something unique and cool and new. And so, like, there have been a lot of times where I've been very tempted to play the global side just because of the cool units you guys do get. Olive, Roberta, and of course, one of my personal favorites, Fravia, and I know that there would be many people annoyed with me if I did not at least mention Chao. And yes, there is Aang, there are other units, but those are the ones that always come to my mind when I think of global exclusives. And now you guys have two new ones. As a matter of fact, you'll be getting another one that, you know, I'm not going to say that I'm super jealous about, but somebody's jealous about it. Anyway, so when it comes right down to it, taking a look at those new units, I was really interested in both of them because they, number one, they're global units, and two, they're mage and hybrid, two of my favorite types of units. I'm definitely not super prone to the physical types, even though, well, I have two 7-star act stars on my JP account. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta roll with what the game gives you and realize that that's probably best, and then realize that I was probably doing my video on CG Reagan and whatnot. Anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about them because they actually remind me of a couple of units on the JP side, and I want to talk a little bit about what I think, like, just how good I think they will be, or how awesome they may be in the long term. Of course, my predictions sometimes are wrong. Can't all be perfect, but I will still want to talk about these units because, yeah, I think they're generally interesting. So to talk about Cersei first, Cersei is just, well, she is a mage type unit, and one that, oops, there we go. Let's talk about Cersei first. Cersei is an oracle. Her TMR, actually not bad. 45 magic, 20% MP, and Frever. Anyway, it is an interesting TMR. 45 magic on an accessory is pretty damn good. The only accessory I think in the game that's really better for magic-wise, even on the JP side, is basically Rem's Super TMR. I think that this is a very powerful thing, and it has a limit burst fill rate up on it too. That's that forever ability. Also, her Super TMR is pretty damn good too. 24 attack, 164 magic, 20% to spirits, and spiritual flux, which increase limit burst. Pretty damn powerful Super TMR. As a matter of fact, it's right up there. Taking a look at mages for a second, if we were to compare to what I have for magic accessories right now, Fravia's off of the Valkyria profile has a higher stat count to it, but doesn't have a higher percentage, so that kind of puts facade of balance, facade of balance. See if I can't annoy some people out there who are always like, it's pronounced Hayu, or whatever, Hayu. And I'll always call him Hayu, and you can leave your comments about how angry you are. But anyway, 45 magic and 20% MP on this, and in terms of the magic weapon, pretty damn good. To this day, the only one that I know that I find particularly better is Medina's Super TMR. So it is a top tier Super TMR for sure for magic staffs, and yeah, pretty good accessory too for mages. Stat wise, she's pretty nice for magic, 204 with an extra 65 points put in. pretty damn nice. In terms of mages, obviously not the highest stat as what is to come, but still pretty damn good. And she has some exclusive equipment. Looking at her kit, though, her kit I really like. Cyclonic Omen, Torrential Omen, both have chain families in Quake and Flood. Both have different elements too, which is nice, gives her some element variety. The one thing I would say is that while this is really good to have this kind of chaining family in there, Flood never really built up to what it could be. But there is an interesting synergy with Flood and Torrential Omen with Folka. Folka has an ability that can power up water magic abilities, which has just recently been enhanced too, I should say. So if we take a look at Folka here, I haven't enhanced it yet, but her 45 MP ability can actually up the damage of a water-based magic attack. So Torrential Omen is potentially more powerful than you think. It is also has a chaining family, but then you need to find someone else who flood chains, and that doesn't feel super common right now. But again, Flood is not really as popular a chain family as Tornado. Looking at the rest of her kit, she has some interesting doing magic damage. She has some interesting cooldown abilities. Death Omen that increases her magic by 150%. Not bad. Her other cooldown deals magic damage, debuffs spirit, debuffs all elements for 3 turns, and accesses, looks like, stronger versions of her other abilities, so that's pretty nice. It's only for 1 turn. That's definitely a problem. And she only has double cast, not triple cast. So really, the reason that I'm taking a look at this girl, well, there's also her limit burst, which does magic damage at a 24 times mod, and, you know, decreases all element resistance 60%, and gives her access to those abilities for 3 turns. So that's better off her limit burst. And since her own TMR helps her get that limit burst, it seems pretty okay. 40 crystals, though, is a tiny bit expensive. But the reason that I'm comparing, like, the unit that she kind of reminds me of is actually Ellie. Now, in no way is she as good as Ellie. Ellie gets triple cast from her own TMR, which is obviously a big benefit. And not only that, Ellie has just magic stacking damage, which I can't even explain just how important that is. Not to mention Ellie's cooldown ability just debuffs for an element for a ton. But needless to say that Cersei actually reminds me a lot of Ellie in terms of her kit, multiple elements, fairly high magic stat, as well as some cooldowns that debuff elements, and her limit burst that's just generally makes her kit stronger. So Cersei, I have to say, isn't bad. Definitely stands up, especially for TMR and Super TMR, if you're interested in mages like I am. So, the other unit is probably the one I like more, because I haven't played with these units yet, so I don't know how good they are. Malphasie is the other unit, a hybrid attacker, and if you've watched my channel before, you know that I am a really big fan of hybrid units. Wrapped Bandages, a 95 attack, 110 magic, 10% MP fist. Very niche. It's going to be essentially for, like, those stats pretty much for hybrids, not going to be useful for units like Tifa in the future or anything like that, but there might be a unit that I want to talk about here who would benefit from this. So needless to say that I think her TMR is very specific. Her accessory, Super TMR Ravenheart, 40 attack, 10 defense, 40 magic, 10 spirit. Pretty nice little balanced accessory for hybrid units. It also gives, you know, some added benefits. I would say that it is almost up there, in my opinion, with Rem's Super TMR. This is a great accessory, and if you have any interest in building hybrids in the future, attack magic hybrids, this is just an amazing thing. It also has dual cast, which, I don't know, doesn't seem that important. Oh, and it has Ravenheart. What does Ravenheart do? Increase magic and damage to birds and demons. Well, that's kind of her theme. But taking a look at Malphasie, you know, fairly decent stats. If we take a look at Nagi, who is a more recent attack and magic damage dealer here on the JP side, who is a hybrid unit, you know, base 209, 202, Malphasie 195, 199, 199 for magic, I should say, attack 195. Pretty good, pretty in line. Obviously, Nagi's a little bit better, but Nagi's about 6 months down the road, so there you go. Looking at her kit, though, she has a lot of stuff that I particularly like, and some stuff that I'm not... Oh, never mind. She has natural dual wield. We're fine. I missed that earlier. So she is mainly based around dark and wind type damage. Now, with hybrids just aren't particularly that strong if you compare it versus Hayu or anything like that. Normally, if you are building a hybrid like this, it's usually better to aim more for magic since that part comes off the enemy spirit. Most enemy spirits stats are usually lower, not all the time, but usually. This girl just has some nice stuff, particularly Tenebrous Dive, and Aerial Dive. Two interesting abilities that will both be proc twice, and they are Divine Ruination abilities. This is important for later. Also, she has a self-healing ability, Remove Breaks. That's pretty great. Her 1,000 Wings, which I absolutely really like this because it is hybrid damage, and it's just kind of cool that it buffs itself. That's the way I read it. If used after Tornado Wings, it becomes Tornado Wings Plus, and it just gets more damage. That's really cool. And it is the chaining family of Tornado, which I think is very useful for her. Just pretty nice. I wouldn't recommend ever using hybrids in Arena because they proc magic tanks as well as physical tanks, and that is a thing that can happen in Arena teams. So it is slightly a problem with using hybrids in Arena, so not necessarily the Tornado Chainer you would want. But one of the things we'll come back to this in a second. Intest Rancor and Birds of a Feather, both interesting abilities that, you know, debuff in terms of Birds of a Feather, as well as give some limit burst to the party, whereas the other one does some hybrid damage and increases her killers versus birds and demons, which is great if there are bird enemies. If not, then okay. Keep in mind that Yuffie exists in the future, and she hates birds too. So I guess these two can be best friends when Yuffie comes out on the global side. Having Crow Talons that enables her dual wield right from the get-go is very useful, since hybrids are going to be a long way before they can be true dual hand, and even then it's pretty damn difficult. But her kit is built really nicely around her own TMR and her own super TMR. Now, keep in mind that her own TMR will be a bit of a limiter to how strong she can get in the future, especially when stronger weapons are coming out later down the line. Looking at the TMR bonus she gets, you know, attack and magic bonus, and some extra attack and magic from dual wielding, and limit burst fill rate, gotta say, I definitely would want that. Even her level 120 ability powers up her 1,000 Wings and all that, gives her extra killers. Pretty nice. Again, you need the right type of enemies, though. And limit burst wise, you know, increase attack and magic to all allies. Cool, you can kind of use her as a buffer, but not for defense, so you gotta be careful. Hybrid damage, and activates Raucous Storm? Not gonna pretend that I know how to say that. Which is another tornado team. So, the reason that I'm talking to her and showing off Nagi is because this girl essentially reminds me of Nagi a lot. Nagi came out recently. She is a very powerful hybrid user on the Japanese side, but she also pairs really nicely with Malphasie here. Malphasie and her both have Divine Ruination that is dark element chaining, which is pretty damn great. Both have natural dual wield. Both have abilities that power up either herself or the party for attack and magic. And to not forget the most important thing, they both have AR chaining that is dark element. Actually, I'm really jealous about Global getting Malphasie because she's essentially the unit I want on the JP side to pair with my Nagi, being that they are both can do AR chaining with darkness, and Nagi actually has a completionist thing that goes very nicely with Malphasie, which is, guess who can debuff for the dark element? Yeah, that's right, this girl can. She has the ability to, off her own limit burst, to debuff for the dark element. Oh, no, it's not her limit burst. Sorry, slightly going to retcon that. Off of some of her abilities, she does have the ability to debuff the enemy for a good amount for wind and darkness. So if you're wondering about in the future who you could have as a hybrid chain partner who would also benefit from that TMR as well, Nagi is essentially a perfect match for Malphasie. As a matter of fact, no, don't do any fan fictions. All of you, don't send me any fan fictions. Don't send me your pictures. Don't link it in the YouTube chat below, in the comments below. Don't do it. Malphasie and Nagi work really well together. I would give, honestly, taking a look at both of the units, I think that they both serve, if I got either of these, I would be pretty happy. Malphasie definitely feels like the better rainbow of the two. I really still, like, Cersei is pretty good for the time, but she will fall pretty hard in comparison versus Ultima and Ellie, just because they have just better kits, basically, with stacking damage, and that becomes a big thing for mages in the future. In terms of hybrids, Malphasie, stat-wise, is a bit weaker than Nagi. Well, actually, she's a fair bit weaker than Nagi. Nagi is very much a product when she came out of the JP side, and stronger than Malphasie. But the two of them actually pair pretty well together, so if you're looking for AR chaining that is dark only, and that could be used 7 weeks in Arena, although it's hybrid damage, so watch out for Awakened Rains and any physical tanks too, because they will give you a bit of a headache with that. And of course, Dark Resistance and Dark Veritises, but do I really need to talk about them? Anyway, I think that Malphasie is a very interesting unit, Cersei is a pretty damn cool unit, and I can't wait for next week when a certain unit, I'm just looking forward to taking a look at that one. So until then, I will see you guys next time.